Showtime.
Well, I guess technology is with us tonight. So welcome to the Health and Human Services Committee meeting for the month of May. This meeting is being conducted under the extraordinary circumstances of a public health emergency and under the Governor's Executive Order 202.1 without permitting public in-person access to the meeting, authorizing the meeting to be held partially or completely with members appearing by remote conference call or similar service. Meeting is being live streamed via the web and recorded, including the participation of the members appearing by remote link. So that being said, there was minutes of the February meeting, which is the last meeting that we had actual in-person meeting. So is there any corrections to those minutes from the committee? Seeing nobody jumping in, we have a presentation from our Community Services Director.
Could I just interrupt for half a second, Mr. Chairman? I just
Sure.
double check. It's something we don't normally do, but in this case, we'll do attendance of the 6 committee members. So I just want to make sure that we have our chairman here. Al Drake?
Here.
And Jim isn't here. Jeremiah? Maxon? Okay, Bobby Ferris? No. Corey Grant? Mr. Dodo?
I can see him.
I'm here.
Oh, there, got it. Okay. Well, at the moment, we don't have a quorum. Well, with the chairman, we do have a. You just became a member of the committee. All right.
Only Corey was going to be here. Let me just text her.
Okay.
Okay.
We can proceed.
Do you want to proceed with the presentation?
Yes.
Okay. So I will exit my position.
Oh, Corey's here. Yep, got it.
Ready?
We're all set.
Good evening. My name is Tim Redden. I'm the Director of Community Services here in Jefferson County. I've been asked to take a few minutes and talk about the opiate issues that our county and many counties have been experiencing and give a very brief update on our service provision through COVID. I want to start by saying that the numbers I'm going to talk about are obviously only those that are reported through our OD mapping system and through the medical examiner's office. We know that there are more overdoses than are reported. We know that there are a lot more Narcan or naloxone administrations than are reported. But we go with what we have. So that's what I'm going to talk about this evening. So far, Jefferson County has had 15 overdose fatalities for 2020. To put that in perspective, last year we had 20 for the entire year of 2019. So we're really on track of hitting 30 to 33 overdose deaths if these trends continue. We've had 111 suspected overdoses in Jefferson County reported, with 74 naloxone administrations or reversals. For those of you that don't know, naloxone or Narcan is a nasally administered medication that puts a person into rapid withdrawal and can reverse an opiate overdose. One of the things that we run into that can be problematic is the addition of fentanyl to the mix. Most of our opiate overdose deaths have been fentanyl, had fentanyl attributed to the death. It's a very, very strong opiate, 50 to 100 times stronger than heroin. It's a synthetic, and it's added into heroin when it comes in. We've had April and May saw the most overdoses with 27 and 28 respectively. And we had a period of time that some of you may have seen in the paper where we really had a large number in a short amount of time. From May 9th to May 15th, we had 10 suspected overdoses. 2 of those were fatalities. Of the 10, 8 of them were fentanyl, and the other 2 were oxycodone, oxymorphone, and then we had methamphetamine and difluoroethanate, which is actually a refrigerant, but it's found in duster, like computer canned duster. We, let's see. We have OD mapping, which is, it's real-time mapping of overdoses. It's uploaded by our first responders. And the committee has determined that 4 overdoses in a 24-hour period will signal and meet the criteria for a public announcement about an opiate overdose spike. During that time frame in May, although we had a lot of overdoses in a short amount of time, we did not meet that criteria. So they were spread out over a few days. So that's why we did not offer a public service announcement with regard to that. But it was a lot of overdoses in a small amount of time. I do want to say our treatment providers here in Jefferson County have done an amazing job of adapting to this sort of new way of doing business. Everybody, all of our agencies have moved to teleservices almost exclusively. So they're providing counseling and therapy services by phone and through video chat. We continue to provide Narcan or naloxone to the community. Trainings are being done by phone and through video. And that's really been a push from the state to get as much Narcan or naloxone out into the community as possible. It's really almost shifted to a keeping people alive is really the focus, primary goal, and then treatment comes after that. We have actually a couple of positives that have come out of this new way of doing business. Our no-show rate has decreased dramatically throughout the behavioral health realm. And that's a big deal for our providers because no-show rate is one of the, large no-show rate is one of the ways that they lose revenue, and it really impacts how agencies are funded. So that's been a good thing. Also, I mean, people are showing up for their appointments and getting the services that they need. It's also really helped address the transportation issue that has been an ongoing problem in Jefferson County and most rural counties. Being able to do these from home has allowed our treatment providers to engage with people that we've never engaged with before. Face-to-face counseling or therapy is still, for many, the gold standard or best way to do business. But the teleservices have really allowed us to continue to provide as much treatment as possible, and we've met the demand as a whole. If anybody has any questions.
Can you see that trend increasing with telemedicine for behavioral health?
Well, we're talking a lot about it. The Conference of Local Mental Hygiene Directors, which is the group that all DCSs belong to, we've been discussing that at length. How much of the good parts of these changes can we keep after we go back to more normal types of service provision? The hope is that we'll be able to continue. I mean, the state agencies have done a fantastic job moving quickly to loosen up the regulations to allow this to happen. It had been really almost prohibitive because of the just piles of regulations that go along with teleservices. I know there is discussion in Albany at the state agencies. I've been on some of those calls, and the hope is that we will continue, hopefully, to keep the best parts of that, yet still make it safe and secure and private.
Tell slang term is for duster. It's huffing.
Oh, yeah.
They want to Google it and know.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so duster. If you ever buy a can of compressed air that you can dust your computer equipment, or if some people just dust their homes that way, it's pressurized with a chemical that is actually a refrigerant. And when you press that, the can gets amazingly cold in a hurry. Well, that gas is also, you can inhale it and get high from it very quickly. And it's an inhalant. So it's known as huffing, and it's probably one of the more dangerous ways to get high, but it's also one of the more popular ways with youth because it's an item that is not restricted from sale. Anybody can go to Walmart or the dollar store and buy the compressed air.
Well, that'd be the same as, what people used to do with spray paint cans.
Yep. And super glue.
Yeah.
Sure.
Fill up your garbage bag and stick your head in.
Yeah, it's incredibly dangerous, and it's incredibly difficult to consistently dose that, and so it results in some really serious problems.
How well are your community service partners able to continue functioning during all of this pandemic situation?
Everybody has adapted almost overnight to make it all happen. I think as we move forward, we'll really start to have to ask the questions about billing procedures and reimbursement rates, because you're not going to get reimbursed at the same level as a face-to-face. So that's going to be something that has to be addressed agency by agency. And we're also looking at, some cuts on the state side as we move forward. So, the fiscal part of it isn't very positive, but the treatment provision side has been fantastic. We've, our local therapists, counselors, case managers have really gone above and beyond throughout this to ensure that our community is cared for.
Any other questions?
Tim, where was the majority of the spike in the overdoses in the city, or?
Well, I just happen to have that. As far as the deaths for 2020, 7 of the 11 were, 7 of the 11 were non-city. 4 were in the city, and 1 was located in called Midtown, sort of that corridor in the center of town. I don't have it split up any more than that. And these numbers and the information came from Steve at Public Health Department. They do a fantastic job tracking this stuff.
Do we have a little bit better participation in the program?
OD mapping, I believe it's always kind of a work in progress, getting people involved and working out the bugs. It's still relatively new to Jefferson County, but it really gives you that real-time number, and it can get us moving and mobilizing very quickly when we do map a spike. It also allows us to see trends in other close by areas that often signal that it's going to be coming our way, so we can hopefully prepare a bit.
Anything else? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Mr. Chairman, if you'll return to your chair.
Okay. I guess we'll move on to our resolutions for the evening.
And legislators, what we're going to do is similar to what we've done with our board meetings, is we'll read each resolution, have the opportunity to talk about, ask any questions. When we get to the end, when we'll do a roll call of 7 people, not of 15. Only in this case, I think we're at 5 at the moment. We'll proceed along those lines as we have in the past. First resolution is accepting funding for Families First Coronavirus Response Act and the Coronavirus Act Relief and Economic Security Act, amending the 2020 county budget in relation thereto.
No, we're going to do blanket. We're going to do blanket, aren't we?
Oh, no, you can do it. No, it's just on the vote.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, Anthony.
I'll second
Second.
it.
Mr.
I'll
Ferris?
second
Okay. Ferris, Goldo and Ferris. Discussion? Okay, moving on.
Second resolution this evening is authorizing an agreement with the New York State Department of Education approved agencies for the provision of special education services for preschool children with disabilities.
The motion?
Anthony?
All right, and Mr. Drake?
I'll second it.
Okay. Discussion? Yes, Mr. Ferris?
Nope,
You got a
I'm good.
question or you?
I'm good.
Okay, all right, all right. Next resolution.
Authorizing agreements and establishing rates of provision of related services in connection with the program for preschool children with disabilities.
Motion?
Make a motion, Anthony.
Second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Next resolution.
Amending the 2020 county budget relative to the district funding for Community Services Department.
Motion? Thank you, Mr. Drake. Is there a second?
I'll
Anthony?
do it.
Thank you. I think Mr. Ferris jumped in there.
Yeah,
All right.
that's
I
all
did.
right. I'll let him have one.
Well, he keeps waving his hand around in front of the screen. It's kind of confusing me
Yeah,
here.
I think he's got more Italian in him than anything else.
Hey, this is live streamed, Anthony. Well, you're probably allowed.
Yeah.
I only have a question: is the amount? It seems very minuscule compared to some grants and things that we receive from the state. Is there any particular explanation?
No, that's happened on occasion before. In this particular case, it's going to go to crisis intervention training. So it's going to be plugged in very nicely, but it tends to be towards the end of a cycle. If there's additional funds, it gets distributed,
Whatever's left over?
whatever's left over.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? All right, next resolution.
Amending the 2020 county budget to allocate additional state aid for community services and mental health programs and to authorize amended agreements in relation thereto.
Motion?
Anthony?
Second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
I'm going to make one observation for everybody. As you look at this resolution, you'll see that it is coming from the state of New York. At the moment, we don't know exactly how things are going to play out. So there's the potential for resolutions that we see prospectively, at least for the immediate future, with funding allocations that may or may not come in as identified or may not come in at quite in the same time frame as normal. So just more of just an observation than anything else. There's nothing been said at the moment that in this particular case we won't get the funding, but just so you know, if it were to come in less, there's a formula for all those agencies, so we would just simply reduce based on the formula, the allocations to any one agency.
So here's a mechanics question then on this process. So when we have a resolution that says we're supposed to receive this amount of money, that doesn't mean that we've actually been in receipt of it yet. This is just
No,
kind of paper notice that
we have received official notice that we're
Yeah.
going to get the funding, but that's something that's further down the road. This time,
Okay.
maybe further. That's just a point or an observation to make.
Okay.
Bob, if I can just ask you real quick?
Sure.
JRC Employment, didn't they change their name, or am I mistaken? Isn't it ARC now, or no? Is that something different?
Yes, that's a very good observation. We were testing you. Thank you, Anthony.
Just for future, that's all.
Yeah,
I
no,
thought they had, but I wasn't sure.
Depends on how the state recognizes it.
that's true, but I suspect, yeah, we'll double check it, but I think if we need to make the
Yep.
adjustment, we.
Just a
Thank you,
heads up.
Mr.
That's
Golda.
all. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay, next resolution.
Amending Resolution 227 of 2019 regarding agreement for provision of certain professional services to the Medicaid Examiner's Office.
Motion?
Yes.
Is that a Mr. Ferris?
Yes, it
Is there a
is.
second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay. So now we'll proceed to vote on a block of all resolutions then by roll call.
Yes, unless anybody has a desire to pull something.
Is there any other concerns or discussion about any of the resolutions?
Okay,
Okay, seeing none, we'll vote.
Legislator Drake,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Ferris,
Yes.
Doldo,
Yes.
Peck.
Yes,
All resolutions carry.
very
So do I
good.
not get to vote on that, or?
Oh, Mr. Maxon.
Oh.
I mean, you can put me down for no if you'd like, but I would vote on all those yes.
We thank you for joining us. We didn't know that.
I snuck in when no one was watching.
You know, if you have the picture on, I definitely would know if you were here or not.
Well, he's got a muted microphone with a J in front of it, so he's there. He's just doing by phone.
So, okay, there's some departmental reports within the packet. Is there any questions about any of that information? Mr. Maxon, were you able to see any of Tim's presentation?
Yes, I caught almost all of it.
Okay, very good. Okay, any further discussion from any of the members of the committee? All right.
Motion
I'll
to
entertain a
adjourn?
Yep, is there a second?
I'll second it.
I'll second.
Okay,
I'm for it.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Home?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.